So hello and what's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here going to present a very interesting podcast. Let's meet a living legend, 101 years old, former RAF navigator who braved the skies during Second World War. From thrilling missions to life-changing moments. He is here to share his untold stories, priceless moments, a 100-year-long journey of his life. Let's get started. Welcome Monty, how are you?
Thank you.
When I meet you for the first time, I used to think, oh, this personality, he should be from military, or like he should be some sportsman. I used to think like that, And when I get to know you, I came to know you were like RAF navigator.
Yeah.
And that was during the time of Adolf Hitler, Second World War.
Correct. I went into the RAF
Yes.
in 1942.
42. And that was the peak time of World War, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'll answer you in a moment. I was 19
Okay.
in 1942. Of course, it took quite a while for me to complete my training.
All right, yeah.
So I didn't actually get busy doing things.
All right.
Until sometime in 1943.
Okay, and Monty, what dragged you to RAF? Was it your childhood dream, or you used to love the airplane, or what?
No.
Take you to
I can tell you, I after I left school, I had a job.
Okay.
And there was a chap who was a year or so older than me, working in the same van, and he was very, very keen about RAF. He was going to do this and do that and doing something else. And he went off to have an interview and they turned him down.
Okay.
Now, I had no ambitions for an RAF, but because they turned him down, I thought I'll go because they won't accept me.
Oh, all right, yeah.
But they jolly well did accept me. And that's what happened all along, because after they accepted me, they sent me for a very stringent medical examination. And I thought, well, I'll never pass that, because I never been a big, strong man.
Okay.
But I went and did this exam. Much to my surprise, I passed that as well.
All right. So when I see you now, you are 101.
Yeah.
Choosing you was the right decision, in my opinion,
Yeah.
So how you felt being chosen as RAF navigator for the first time when they selected your name? What was your feeling from inside,
Well, my feelings was I'll never get through to do anything matters.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't even drive a car, let alone do navigation.
Okay.
I thought I'll never get through. So I thought, well, I'll just jog along, and sooner or later they'll tell me that I'm not suitable.
Oh, okay.
But it didn't happen like that, because first of all I went to a school, nowhere near an aeroplane, to sit down to learn the principle of navigation, to know how it works, because it's a bit complicated. You see, navigation, if you're rowing a boat, the tide carries you.
Yeah.
If you're in an aeroplane, the air movement carries you.
Okay.
And the navigator's job was to calculate where you were, bearing in mind the movement and the strength of the air in which you're flying.
So like Monty, now we can see we have got Google Maps, quite strong equipments, technologies to navigate. What did you use at that time as a navigator? What did you use, like equipments or instruments?
Oh yes. Well, first of all, you learn the principles of navigation like you're sitting in a school desk.
Okay, yeah.
All you use then are maps and a pencil.
All right.
But you've got to learn how
So like paper maps?
Sorry?
Paper maps? Maps in the paper, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
They're big maps. But, so you've got to learn how to do it. But once you've finished, you see, you start off in the Air Force as what's called an AC2. That's an aircraftsman second class,
Okay.
which used to be known as the lowest level of human life,
All right.
an AC2. But when you've trained and you've qualified, then you naturally become a sergeant.
Okay.
And that means you're never less than a sergeant, and your level of pay increases.
All right.
And it happened as well that about sometime after I started flying in the bomber, I became an officer.
Oh, all right.
And that gave me more money as well.
Okay, so let's get into the plane that is sticked on your wall. I'll just take video and stick on my video as well.
Yeah.
So was that your first plane or like?
No, that picture there is exactly the plane that I flew on when we were actually on operations.
Okay.
Of course, I flew on smaller planes when I was training, but when I actually got to a bomber squadron,
All right.
that was the plane we flew on.
All right. So can you please tell the name of that plane? You know.
That plane is called a Halifax.
Okay.
Everybody knows about the Lancaster bomber.
Okay.
That's a Halifax bomber.
Yeah.
4-engined heavy bomber.
How did you used to do the job actually like?
Well, when you were ready to go on
Yes.
an operation, the plane had the bombs on.
All right.
All the crew got in. I had my maps.
Okay.
And I had a radar equipment as
yeah.
well.
That is for GPS tracking, is it?
That the radar equipment is to enable you to plot where you are.
Okay.
Because you see, when you're on the ground, they tell you you're going to fly this way.
All right. Yeah.
And the wind is blowing that way, and you must take that into account.
Okay.
But the wind that they tell you is going to be, say, at 2,000 feet when you start, the wind can be quite different when you're flying at 20,000 feet.
Oh, yeah, that's
You
true.
see, it blows in a different direction.
Yeah, it's quite cold as well up, in the sky. It's quite cold, freezing cold as well.
Yeah.
Was that same inside the plane at that time?
In the plane, was it cold?
Yeah.
Well, that's funny. It was very cold, except for me.
Okay.
Because my position as the navigator was underneath, nearly underneath where the pilot sat.
All right.
And near the nose of the plane.
Oh, yeah.
And it was quite warm there. Everybody else was cold.
Okay.
And wore flying boots and a flying jacket
Yeah.
and a helmet. Now, I had all those things, but I never wore them.
So, yeah, like in this day,
Yeah.
there are heating systems,
Oh, yes.
air conditions.
No heating, no.
Nothing, yeah?
No, there was no heating. That's why all the crew dressed up in warm clothing.
Okay.
Warm fur-lined boots, a leather fur-lined jacket, that sort of thing.
All right.
But not for me, because I didn't need them, because I was warm where I was sitting.
Okay, by the place. It's quite interesting to know about the, World War and everything. Did you ever get frightened, was there any fear of death or, being attacked by the enemy?
That's a very good question,
All
and
right.
I'll answer that question simply. About 25 years ago, my granddaughter, who was then 7,
All right, yeah.
said, would I go and give a little talk to her class at school, just for about a quarter of an hour or so. And I went there and I gave them a chat. I had to be careful because they were 7-year-old, so I didn't want to frighten them. I didn't want to be too serious. But the funny thing was, when I'd finished talking, I asked if anybody wanted to ask me a question. And a little girl, and what I'm telling you now, it happened then and it happened ever since. A little girl said to me, "Were you frightened the first time you went on a raid?"
All right, yeah.
And I said, "No, my dear, I wasn't frightened the first time I went on a raid. I was frightened every time I went on a raid." And that's true, and I've quoted that time and again.
All right. So what was the main motivation, Monty? Like, if you are frightened to do some trips or mission, what would motivate you to drag into the mission?
You've got a job to do.
Okay.
You've got a navigator's job. If you weren't there, they couldn't fly the bomber and drop bombs.
Okay.
Because they wouldn't know where to go.
Okay.
Because my job was to work out exactly what route to take, where to turn, where to move off, where to drop the bombs,
All right.
and where, hopefully, to get back home.
Okay.
Now, without that, they couldn't operate.
Yeah. In your opinion, how do you take that worries? Was that good to happen, or
Well, I can answer you clearly. First of all, as you know, I'm Jewish. The Holocaust wiped out an enormous number of Jewish people. To that extent, I never worried about dropping bombs on German cities or German towns. Never.
So that could be some inspiration, or that motivated you to go into RAF maybe?
It didn't at first, no. But once I was flying in the RAF, once I was dropping bombs on targets, it never worried me. It's a terrible thing to say.
All right, okay.
It never worried me who the bombs dropped on, who they killed, what damage they did. All I was concerned about is once I dropped the bombs, to get back home to base.
So Monty, before I come to this seat, I just Google search you, and there were hundreds of articles on your name. Is former RAF navigator.
In Google.
Yes, and many people like University of Lincoln, other RAF museum and galleries, they have some archive regarding you. So it looks like RAF is quite respected job this day. So what was at that time? Was that a respected job to be RAF navigator, or?
Yes. You say about Google, there's a RAF museum in Lincoln where they maintain permanent records. And a man came to my home and saw me and asked me to talk about my life, not just about the RAF, but from the early days. And I sat and talked to him for an hour. And he wanted to come back and do more another day. But I said, we'll stop and have a cup of coffee. And then I did another hour.
Okay, let's do coffee then. Here as well, I have brought some coffee. You remind me about the coffee. I have almost forgotten about it. Okay.
That's fine.
It may be quite hot for you, yeah?
Thank you. Oh, that's lovely.
So, let's get into the topic again, Monty. Do you have any friends circle that you know from that time? Now,
Well, I was in a crew of 7. After we finished the RAF and we were all demobilized, I kept very friendly with the chap who was the rear gunner.
All right, okay.
The chap sitting in the tail. And we kept friendly all the years, and unfortunately he died 10 years ago. But we always kept, and we used to go out to lunch occasionally with our wives, and it was It was a nice relationship.
So as you said, like you were 19 at that time.
I was, well, I'll tell
Yeah,
you,
when you
he
entered.
got married when he was 88. He'd been married before.
All right, yeah.
And then he was many years on his own. And then he lived with a lady and got married. And he was 88. He was the bridegroom at 88. I was his best man at 87 and a half.
Oh, Monty. So let's get some humor as well.
Yeah.
If you don't mind. Did you have any girlfriends? You were 19 at that time. Did you have any girlfriend or cross lady from that crew?
I didn't.
Oh,
And I'll tell you why I
Yeah.
didn't. Because, you see, when I left school, I studied for 2 years.
Yeah.
Then I went into the Air Force.
Okay.
I was also young, younger than any of the others.
All right.
I didn't have time. I wasn't old enough.
Okay.
I wasn't worldly enough
All right.
to have girlfriends.
So one thing is like
the
Monty.
first girlfriend I really got
Yeah.
was the lady whose photo was there,
Oh, okay.
who I married in 1946.
Let's get into post-RAF life.
Post.
Yes.
After.
Yes, after RAF.
Yeah.
What did you do after that, you know?
Well, I had started studying before I went into the RAF. I started studying to become a chartered accountant.
Okay.
But all of that went down the drain when I was in the RAF. When I came out, I got a job in a firm of chartered accountants, and I started to study again.
All right.
And I studied the account. A funny thing was, to become a chartered accountant, you had to take a preliminary exam, an intermediate exam, and a final exam. Now, I didn't take the preliminary exam because I had got qualification, what was called matriculation, at school. I didn't take the intermediate exam because I was in the RAF.
Okay.
I couldn't find a way of not taking the final, so I sat the final exam.
So you worked as chartered accountant after that?
Yeah,
Okay.
so that I managed to pass.
All right. And like, you know, I can tell, you know, I can say like being chartered accountant did not make you so strong by physically, you know, like what did you do? Like any sports or anything so that you are living 101 like sweet 16?
Well, I don't really know. I've always lived a very active life.
Okay.
I mean, I was very active in the RAF. I got married. I had 3 children. Unfortunately, my first wife, whose picture's there, died when she was 36
Okay.
and left me with 3 children. You've met Nick.
Yes.
And you've met Steffi.
Yeah.
They're 2 of the
Okay.
3. So we were married. She died and left me with 3 children. So I've been very active. I've been very busy one way or another.
All right.
And then subsequently I married Lily, and we've been married for, I think, 61 years.
Already, yeah.
And of course she's a resident here in this care home.
Yeah.
And she's now 92.
Okay.
Oh, she's lovely.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Monty. So, like, you know, after just the war was ended and the destructive war, everywhere there was destruction and everything, you know, people were killed, many people, numerous people were killed.
Yeah.
So, just after the end of war, what was your feeling? How did you feel, like, you know?
Well, as regards dropping bombs and killing people, that didn't worry me at all, because I knew about the Holocaust in Germany. So what Germans got killed because we were dropping bombs,
Okay.
I didn't give a thought to.
All right.
Once war was over and I was out of the RAF, then it was a different situation.
Okay. So how do you take the world now, you know? There is war somewhere, but at least there is no any big war going on.
Well, it's difficult to say this because the Holocaust was the most terrible, terrible thing.
Okay.
I've never been, because of that, I can't pretend to be very friendly with Germans, because I'm not. Because you can't forget what really happened.
You are the one, you know. So did you ever meet any people who used to fight against England?
Yes.
Did you? Yeah, okay.
I'll tell
After
you
war, yeah.
I'll tell you a very funny story.
Yeah.
I had a client, a lady, who was a very, very good pianist. Now there's a pianist, I can't remember his name, and he was quite famous. And she made a party for a few people to come because it was this pianist's birthday, and she had a model of him with a wreath round his neck, and a few people were sitting there. And we spent some time and had a chat. And one of the guests there, apart from me and my wife, was a fella called Friedrich and his wife. And we chatted. And as the evening wore on, and we'd had a drink or two, I suddenly realised that this chap, Friedrich, had been a member of the German army.
Okay, yeah.
And that made me decide with my wife, it's time we went home.
Oh, okay, Monty.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you met opponent as well after war?
Yeah.
Okay. So...
And I must go on to say, in all honesty, I wouldn't say I'm anti-German, but I've never bought a German car.
Oh, okay. Now it's fine. I think, Monty, you know, like all European countries are working together.
Yeah.
We are just sharing our stories anyways. At that time, you are sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, well,
but now it's fine, isn't it? Yeah.
Different life.
Yeah, it's different life. So how is that like, you know, you have seen the technologies, mobile phones and everything, the equipments.
Yeah.
Do you think like it's all like outcome of the Second World War?
Well, it had to happen, war or not, because scientists are always studying these things. They're always coming up with new things. Hardly a year goes by where there isn't some new scientific invention that comes on the market. For me, that is a complete waste of time because I am the most non-technical person imaginable. The greatest achievement I can have is I use a little phone.
Okay.
More than that, no chance.
All right, Monty. I will share you my first time flying in airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, you know, I used to see the plane in the skies when I was young kid, you know.
Yeah.
And like I used to think of, oh, one day I'll fly in it. And when I went to the plane for the first time, it was like, you know, I was quite frightened.
Yeah.
And as soon as plane took off, I started feeling sickness.
Yeah.
You know, which was quite, you know, sigh moment for me.
Well,
was there anything happen to you like this, you know?
Well, you see, when I was in the RAF and flying, you didn't have time to think about whether you didn't feel well or not. I can tell you this, when I finished flying in the RAF, was married, had children, when we used to go on holiday, we would fly to Italy or Spain or Israel, wherever. I was never very comfortable.
Okay.
Never very comfortable. And I used to listen to hear the the engines going
Yeah.
to make sure they sounded right.
So did you ever have any dream like you were sleeping on when you were going holiday, you were on airplane and sleeping and you just had a dream of war?
I never went to sleep.
Okay.
Never slept for a moment when I was in an aeroplane after the war.
Okay.
No.
Oh, okay.
And I never liked flying very much.
I think you had too much when you were in RAF.
Yeah, that's right. And we used to go on regular holidays. And I wasn't bad, but I wasn't happy.
Okay.
I liked it when we landed.
All right. Okay, Monty. So I think now it's time to wrap up, What would you like to say to the young people like me regarding your life, If you see your life, what would you like to say me,
Well, I'd like to say to you and to young people, God willing, they should never be involved in a war.
Okay.
Never any fighting, never wars, never trouble. But this is what they call a pipe dream. Because if you look at the world today, there's wars all over the damn place.
That's true, Monty, yeah.
Terrible. I mean, I won't list them all, but take Israel. And as you realize, as a Jew, I'm in favor of Israel. But they're fighting Hamas, and they're fighting Syria.
Yeah.
And I won't go through the whole list, but there's fighting all over the place.
Yeah.
And now there's fighting with Russia and Ukraine and Syria.
So it should not happen,
God knows where it's all going to finish.
Okay. So another thing, Monty, what suggestion would you like to give me or him or other youngster so that they can live 101 like you?
Ah, that's a good question. I really don't know the answer because when I was a child, I was a sickly child. I had measles and German measles and mumps and something else. And then I was in hospital with scarlet fever.
Okay.
I was a sickly child. Who would have ever in their right mind thought I'd be here at 101? Doesn't seem possible. But that's where the Almighty works things out.
Okay.
You can ask him lots of questions, but the Almighty doesn't give you any answers.
Okay.
You've got to take what's dished out to you. Now, I used to live a healthy life insofar as, number one, I used to play a lot of tennis.
Okay, I read that in some articles,
I played tennis 2 or 3 times a week, and I stopped when I was 87.
87?
Yeah. I also, if I didn't play tennis, I used to go for a jog in the morning, running around the local park.
Okay.
So that, I suppose, kept me well. But who knows? Who knows? 101, it sounds ridiculous.
When you talk, I think we are just thinking he should not be 101. Maybe, people may think like you are not 101, you are younger. You look young and your voice is so like leading voice.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Addy, speaking wise, I'm okay. I can talk, I can discuss, I can express opinions.
Is there anything that hits on your mind from war until now?
From the war?
Yes, like you are sleeping and you just think about war and one thing hit in your mind. Is there anything like that?
Well, no, the only thing I think about war is can't they stop them all? Because I've never known a situation like this. Everybody's at war with everybody else.
So it was good to talk to you. As you know, I'm from non-English speaking nation. Thank you for accepting my proposal.
No, you've been very kind to me, Addy.
Thank you so much, Monty. let's end the topic for now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Monty. All right.